The night cracked with silence when Amina whispered, "I can't breathe in this house anymore." Her chest trembled, eyes wet from unseen wounds. Kofi slammed the oak door behind him, his voice rough with fury. "You will obey as long as you wear this uniform." She clutched her apron like a shield, dignity slipping through trembling fingers, yet her spirit refused to bow. The mansion walls echoed betrayal, cold marble floors mocking her pain. Every step Kofi took toward her carried the weight of chains she had never chosen. Amina's heart pounded, torn between shame and fire. Her whispered confession, "I deserve more than this," pierced the air like a blade. The clock struck midnight, thunder rolling outside, mirroring her storm within. A secret burned on his lips, his glare filled with power, but beneath it flickered something dangerous, desire masked by cruelty. The storm was here, and she was already drowning in it. Amina sat by the cracked window, rain dripping in rhythm with her heartbeat. She whispered, "Why does he hate the sight of my freedom?" Her reflection stared back, weary yet unbroken. Kofi's voice echoed from the hall, sharp like the crack of thunder, "Do not question me." She pressed her palm to the glass, longing for air beyond iron gates. The mansion was gilded, but it was also her cage. Memories of her mother's voice, urging dignity above pain, rushed through her. The storm outside matched the one within, every lightning strike flashing her scars across the glass. She muttered, "One day I will walk out of here by choice, not chains." Shadows danced behind her as the fire in the hearth burned low. She swallowed tears, holding on to a dream too fragile to speak aloud, yet too fierce to die. Kofi lingered at the end of the corridor, shadows cloaking his broad frame. His jaw clenched as he muttered, "Defiance will ruin you." Yet his eyes betrayed something deeper, a flicker of longing he could not bury. Amina caught his stare through the glass reflection, her chest tightening. She whispered, "You fear what you cannot control." The words stung him like sparks in dry wood. The storm rattled the window panes, drowning silence with thunder. He stepped closer, leather shoes echoing against the marble, each sound heavy with power. She turned from the window, her spine straight despite trembling hands. His breath caught at her fire, though his lips curled in disdain. In that silence, both stood bound not by choice but by secrets too dangerous to name. The air thickened as thunder rolled closer. Amina clenched her fists and muttered, "I am not your possession." Her voice cracked, but her spine refused to bend. Kofi's eyes darkened, rage burning into hunger. He stepped forward, words sharp, "You are bound to me until I release you." She flinched but raised her chin, defiance glowing in her eyes. The storm burst, lightning painting their faces in fractured light. Her mother's words echoed again, courage stitched into her veins. Kofi froze for a moment, seeing strength where he expected surrender. His breath faltered, but he masked it with a cold glare. The silence between them became louder than thunder, a battlefield of wills. Amina whispered, "Then break me if you can." The storm outside roared as if mocking their silence. Amina's breath came shallow, her heart hammering louder than the rain. Kofi loomed near, but for the first time she did not step back. His hand twitched at his side, torn between restraint and command. "You think you know strength," he whispered, voice laced with steel. She whispered back, "I know survival." Their eyes locked, stormlight caught in their dark gaze, two fires clashing in a house built on control. A log in the hearth cracked, sparks rising like warnings. The storm surged, drowning the world outside, yet the true storm burned between them. In that moment, the mansion ceased to exist. Only their defiance filled the night. Neither moved, neither surrendered, and both knew this was only the beginning. The storm had calmed, but inside Amina, the thunder still raged. She sat on the edge of her narrow bed in the servants' quarters, staring at the cracked ceiling as if answers might fall from it. She whispered, "I've carried scars longer than I've carried hope." Her voice trembled, but did not break. Memories of her mother's hands, calloused yet tender, brushed through her mind like ghosts. She longed for freedom, not riches, but a life where her name was not spoken as if she were less. She clenched her fists, whispering, "I am not the girl who bows to fear." Outside, dawn broke with pale light through dusty windows, streaking across her face. The silence of the mansion pressed against her chest, but beneath it, she felt the stir of something fierce. Amina's heart whispered louder than her fear. One day she would rise. Nia entered quietly, her steps light but her presence strong. She leaned against the doorframe, arms crossed, eyes steady on Amina. "You can't keep swallowing pain as if it will disappear," she said softly. Amina turned, her lips quivering. "What choice do I have when every path is locked?" Nia stepped forward, her honey-brown skin glowing in the morning light, braids wrapped like a crown. She sat beside Amina, voice firm. "You've always had a fire inside you. Don't let him make you forget." Amina looked at her, eyes clouded, yet hopeful. "Fire burns everything it touches," she whispered. Nia took her hand, squeezing it tight, "or it lights the way out of darkness." The weight of her words filled the small room, and Amina allowed a fragile hope to stir. Amina wandered into the empty ballroom later that morning, her bare feet echoing on polished floors. The chandeliers glimmered faintly, as if mocking her place among them. She whispered to herself, "One day I will dance here not as a servant but as myself." Her reflection shimmered faintly in the marble floor, fragile and haunting. Kofi's shadow lingered in her thoughts, his voice still bruising her pride. She closed her eyes, swaying slightly, imagining freedom as music instead of chains. Her body moved with hesitant grace, a dancer hidden beneath dust and sorrow. The silence was broken only by her breath and the faint hum of her heart. For a moment, she was no longer invisible, but radiant in her own imagined world. Nia found Amina in the ballroom, her lips curling into a knowing smile. "You're practicing for a world that doesn't see you yet," she teased gently. Amina froze, embarrassed, then whispered, "Dreams are the only place I can be free." Nia walked closer, her steps light, her voice low but fierce. "Then don't hide them. He wants you small, invisible. But I see you, Amina, and one day they will too." Amina blinked back tears, her body trembling at the truth she longed to believe. She whispered, "What if I'm not enough?" Nia tilted her head, smirking. "Enough? You were born more than enough. It's him who fears your strength." The words sank deep, echoing louder than any ballroom silence. Later that night, Amina sat alone by the fireplace in the servants' hall, shadows flickering across her face. She held a worn book her mother once owned, tracing the faded edges. "Every page feels like her voice," she whispered. The fire popped, sparks leaping as if answering her grief. She clutched the book to her chest, murmuring, "I will not let my dignity die here." Her voice was low but steady, echoing against stone walls. Tears welled but did not fall. Amina inhaled deeply, flames reflecting in her dark eyes. She had been broken, but not destroyed. In that silence, her resolve hardened. She would fight for her dream, no matter the storm or the chains placed before her. The fire burned, and so did she. The ballroom glowed under candlelight as evening descended, every corner dressed for wealth. Amina swept the floor with silent precision, yet her mind screamed rebellion. Kofi's voice cut through the silence. "You think hiding in chores will silence your fire?" She stiffened back to him, gripping the broom as if it were armor. "I don't need to prove myself to you," she whispered, though her voice betrayed trembling. He stepped closer, polished shoes echoing on marble, his breath brushing the space near her ear. "Then why do your eyes burn when you defy me?" Her heart lurched, her grip faltered, yet she held her chin high. The ballroom's grandeur mocked her chains, but his words ignited dangerous sparks in her chest. For the first time, fear and desire collided, and she could not tell which was louder. Amina's chest tightened as Kofi's shadow towered behind her. She whispered, "Your world was never meant for me." His voice carried heat and ice. "Perhaps it was built only for you." She spun to face him, anger flashing like lightning in her dark eyes. You can't twist chains into crowns, she said, her tone sharp as glass. Kofi smirked, but his jaw clenched, revealing the war inside him. The storm outside rattled the windows as if echoing their collision. She stepped forward, closing the gap, her defiance a fire he couldn't quench. His breath hitched, but he disguised it with a sneer. In that moment, power shifted. She was no longer just the maid in his mansion, but the woman who shook his control. Later that night, Amina retreated to the courtyard, the scent of wet earth clinging to the air after rain. She whispered into the darkness, "Why does his gaze burn through me like truth?" Her chest rose heavy, carrying questions she feared to answer. Nia's voice came from behind, gentle yet piercing, "Because you see yourself in him, and it scares you." Amina turned, tears in her eyes, shaking her head. "I don't want him to own my soul," she cried softly. Nia placed a hand on her shoulder, steady, grounding. "Then don't let him. Love is not slavery, but fear will make it feel like one." The courtyard lanterns flickered, and Amina realized her fight was no longer just against Kofi, but against her own heart. The next morning, Kofi's Aunt Abena entered the hall, her presence cold and sharp as steel. Her caramel skin gleamed under tailored silk, eyes like daggers. She eyed Amina with disdain, whispering, "A maid should never dream beyond her rags." Amina stiffened but kept her gaze steady. "Dreams cost nothing," she replied, voice low but firm. Abena's lips curled in scorn. "Then remember your place before you destroy him." Kofi entered mid-conversation, his jaw tightening at the sight. Amina's heart raced, shame clashing with pride. Abena's words lingered like poison, but Amina's silence was not surrender. It was survival. In the shadows, Kofi's stare burned with conflict, torn between loyalty to blood and the fire Amina carried. That evening, tension thickened like smoke in the dining hall. Kofi sat at the head of the polished oak table, his eyes fixed on Amina as she served silently. Abena's words still echoed, slicing her resolve. Kofi finally broke the silence. "Do you fear her judgment more than your truth?" Amina froze, the tray trembling in her hands. Her voice cracked but carried weight. "I fear nothing but chains, seen or unseen." His gaze darkened, but his lips parted in something like respect. The hall grew colder, the flickering candles seeming to bow to their unspoken war. Abena's absence did not ease the heaviness. Her poison lingered in both their hearts. Yet in that silence, something fragile bloomed, a recognition neither could deny. The night was restless, as Amina carried linens through the library. She froze when she heard Kofi's voice, low and broken. "This house is built on lies." He stood at the shelves, fingers tracing old ledgers. She stepped closer, her whisper cautious, "What lies?" His jaw tightened, eyes burning. "My father bought silence with blood, and this fortune was never clean." Amina's breath caught, her heart heavy with dread. She whispered, "Then we are both chained, you by guilt, and I by duty." Kofi's stare softened for the first time, pain replacing dominance. The silence between them thickened, not with rage, but with a truth neither could escape. In that moment, the mansion itself seemed to confess its sins, shadows stretching like ghosts across the walls. Following morning, whispers filled the servants' hall. Nia rushed to Amina, her voice urgent. "Do you know what they're saying?" Amina's brow furrowed. "What?" Nia leaned closer, eyes sharp. "Kofi is to be married, arranged by his aunt to a woman of wealth." Amina staggered back, breath stolen as if the air betrayed her. "Married?" she whispered, pain lacing each syllable. Nia's grip tightened on her arm. "He hasn't spoken of it, but Abena spreads it like gospel." Amina's chest burned, anger and sorrow warring within. Her defiance felt fragile now, like glass ready to shatter. She whispered, "Then I am nothing more than a distraction to him." Tears welled but did not fall, her dignity holding them hostage. That evening, Amina stormed into the study where Kofi sat in silence. Her voice cracked with rage. "You let me believe my fire mattered, but you belong to another." He rose sharply, eyes flashing. I belong to no one, he growled. Her chest heaved, tears finally falling. Then why let her chain you? His fists clenched at his sides, veins taut. Abena holds power over this family, but not over my heart, he spat. The storm within them roared louder than words. She whispered, broken but fierce, then prove it. His silence burned heavier than denial, his eyes betraying secrets too dangerous to voice. Amina's heart cracked, not from betrayal alone, but from the truth he dared not speak. Later that night, Abena stood in the grand hall with icy grace. Her voice cut like glass. Do you think you can tarnish this family with your maid's rebellion? Kofi's face hardened. This family was tarnished long before her. Abena's eyes narrowed, venom dripping. You are weak, blinded by temptation. Amina stepped into view, trembling yet unyielding. I am not temptation. I am truth, she declared. Abena's laughter rang sharp, echoing like a curse. Kofi's jaw tightened, his hand twitching as if to reach for Amina but stopping. The hall fell into silence, the weight of blood and pride pressing against every wall. Abena whispered like a blade, then both of you will be destroyed. The night deepened, and silence wrapped the mansion like chains. Amina sat alone in the servants' quarters, clutching her mother's book. She whispered, truth cuts deeper than lies, yet it frees even as it wounds. Her chest rose with broken sobs she refused to release. Outside, thunder rumbled faintly, the storm threatening to return. Kofi's footsteps echoed in the corridor, but he did not enter. She could feel him beyond the door, close yet unreachable. Her heart whispered against her will, he is both my wound and my flame. Tears slipped finally, soaking the pages of her mother's book. In that quiet, she realized the twist of fate had already carved scars too deep to ignore. The ballroom lay cloaked in shadow, its chandeliers unlit, the storm outside raging again. Amina stood in the center, fists trembling, her voice cracking into the silence. I will not be silent anymore. Kofi entered, his frame sharp against lightning. His voice thundered. You defy me at every turn, yet you burn inside me like a curse. Her eyes flared, wet with fury. You don't want me free, you want me bound to your shame. His chest rose, breath heavy, hands clenched. You are the only truth in this house of lies, he cried, voice breaking. Amina's heart raced, rage colliding with a dangerous tenderness. She whispered, trembling, then stop destroying me to prove you feel. The storm roared as their silence burned louder than words. Kofi advanced, his voice breaking with fury and longing. I cannot control this fire, Amina. It consumes me. Her chest heaved, her tears spilling, but her chin stayed high. You call it fire, I call it chains, she spat. He stopped, pain flickering in his eyes. Do you not see? I've never wanted anyone as I want you. Her breath shuddered, heart clawing at her ribs. Then why make me bleed for it? His hand lifted as if to touch her face, but he froze, trembling. Their eyes locked, stormlight flickering between them like truth laid bare. The silence stretched until it broke with a sob she could not contain. Amina's voice rose, fierce through trembling sobs. I am not your salvation. I am not your possession. I am my own. Kofi staggered as if struck, his breath ragged. Without you, this house is ashes, he said hoarsely. She shook her head, her voice sharp, then let it burn. Lightning exploded across the room, shadows flaring. He gripped the edge of the table, knuckles white, rage and love tearing him apart. You've cursed me, Amina, he whispered, broken. Her eyes shone like fire, lips trembling. No, I've freed you. You just don't know it yet. Their words collided like storms, each syllable shattering the fragile air between them. The storm outside howled, but it was nothing compared to their voices. Kofi's words slashed like knives. You want me weak, stripped of my blood, my family, my name. Amina screamed back, her voice cracking. I only want you true, Kofi, not their puppet. He closed the distance, face inches from hers, fury trembling with desire. You break me, he whispered, breath ragged. She gasped, tears falling freely. Then let yourself be broken. It's the only way to be whole. Their foreheads nearly touched, breath mingling, storm roaring through shattered windows. For one heartbeat, they were no longer master and maid, but two souls bleeding in the same fire. The storm reached its height, thunder rattling the chandeliers. Kofi's voice tore through the chaos. I love you, Amina, though it may ruin us both. She froze, heart shattering under the weight of it. Tears streaked her face as she whispered, love should not taste like chains. His chest heaved, eyes blazing. Then teach me freedom, he pleaded. Her breath caught, her body trembling at the rawness of his words. Silence wrapped them, heavy and unbearable. For the first time, she saw not the tyrant, but the broken man beneath. The storm outside began to fade. But, inside, the wreckage of truth was complete. Neither had won. Both had bled. And nothing would ever be the same again. The mansion lay in silence after the storm, its marble halls echoing only the faint drip of rain from broken windows. Amina walked through the corridor slowly, her bare feet leaving faint prints on the polished floor. She clutched her mother's worn book against her chest as if it were her shield. Her voice was low, trembling. I have been fire, I have been ash, but I will not disappear. She remembered Kofi's voice, raw with confession, and it carved both pain and fragile hope into her chest. She whispered, love should not taste like chains, but perhaps freedom can still rise from ruin. In the dim light of dawn, her reflection in the window stared back, a stranger who looked stronger than she felt. She lifted her chin, whispering again, this is not the end of me. The house seemed to breathe with her, its silence no longer suffocating but waiting. Kofi stood in his father's study, shadows stretching across his face as dawn's light filtered weakly through the heavy curtains. His hands trembled over the ledger he once called power, now only a confession of corruption. He whispered, every name here is a ghost, and I am no better than them. He remembered Amina's eyes when she told him she would not be his possession. That memory pierced deeper than Abena's warnings or his family's shame. He whispered, she is the only truth I have left. His voice cracked as he closed the book and pressed his hand against his chest. For the first time, he felt powerless, not from her defiance, but from his love. He muttered, if I lose her, I lose myself. The storm had passed outside, but inside him, thunder still raged, demanding a choice. Nia found Amina in the courtyard, the morning air heavy with the smell of wet stone. She approached quietly, her braided crown glistening in the soft light. Amina did not turn, her voice was fragile but steady. He says he loves me, but his world will never allow me to breathe. Nia's voice was firm, unwavering. Love is not about worlds, Amina. It is about choices. Amina clutched her mother's book tighter, tears brimming. Every choice feels like loss. If I stay, I lose myself. If I go, I lose him. Nia placed her hands on her shoulders, grounding her. Then choose the loss you can live with, but never choose silence. Amina's breath shook as she whispered, I have been silent too long. The courtyard seemed to exhale with her, its lanterns flickering in the early wind. That evening, Abena confronted Kofi in the grand hall, her voice cold as polished steel. You will destroy everything if you choose her, she hissed. Kofi's chest rose sharply, his voice firm though his hands trembled. This house has already been destroyed. It is only her truth that keeps me alive. Abena's lips curled, rage hidden beneath her calm mask. Do you not see? She is the ruin you invite. Kofi stepped closer, his voice breaking. She is not ruin, Abena, she is redemption. The chandeliers above flickered, shadows stretching across the marble like fractured glass. Abena turned away, her silence sharper than her words. Kofi stood alone in the echo of his defiance, heart torn but unwavering. For the first time he had chosen not blood, not wealth, but truth. As midnight fell, Amina returned to the ballroom, empty and still. She walked slowly across the polished floor, each step echoing with memories of their battles. She pressed her hand against the tall window, staring at the stormless night sky. Her whisper trembled, "I am more than his fire, more than their chains." Behind her, Kofi entered quietly, his footsteps heavy with humility. "Amina," he breathed, his voice soft, no longer commanding. She turned, eyes shining with both fury and longing. "You've broken me too many times," she whispered. He nodded, tears glistening. "Then let me rebuild with you, not above you." Silence wrapped them, fragile yet fierce. She stepped closer, breath unsteady. "If we rise scarred." His hand lifted, trembling, waiting for hers. For the first time, choice belonged only to her. The ballroom lay cloaked in moonlight, silent as a grave. Amina stood in the center, her shadow stretching across marble like a crown she never asked for. Her voice broke the silence, soft but steady. "Every scar I carry has made me stronger, but it has also made me weary." Kofi lingered at the edge of the hall, watching her with eyes filled not with command, but with longing. "Amina," he whispered, his tone stripped bare. "I would give up this house, this name, this blood, if only to breathe the same air as you without chains." She turned slowly, her breath catching at the rawness in his voice. Her eyes glistened, lips trembling. "Then why does it still feel like standing beside you means losing myself?" The moonlight bent around them, as if even the night strained to hear the end of their storm. Kofi's footsteps echoed as he crossed the floor, every step deliberate, heavy with choice. His hand trembled at his side, his breath uneven. "If you walk away," he said hoarsely, "I will never ask you to return. But if you stay, let it be not as servant, not as captive, but as equal." Amina's heart thundered, her chest tightening under the weight of freedom offered like a fragile gift. She shook her head, voice sharp with pain. "Promises spoken in candlelight fade with morning." He stopped inches away, his eyes burning. "Then let the morning test me." Her body shook, torn between longing and fear. The silence between them crackled louder than the storm had. She whispered, "Even love cannot erase what has already scarred me." His face fell, but his gaze did not leave hers. Nia entered quietly from the far corridor, her face solemn as she watched them. She did not speak at first, only observed her honey-brown skin glowing in the pale light. When she finally broke the silence, her words cut like truth itself. "Love that asks you to shrink will never save you, Amina." Amina's breath faltered, her eyes wet. "Then what is love if not sacrifice?" she whispered. Nia stepped closer, her voice unflinching. "Love is not bleeding alone while the other watches. It is two souls carrying the same wound together." Kofi's jaw clenched, tears brimming. "Then I will carry her scars with her," he vowed. Amina turned to him, her lips trembling. "Words are wind, Kofi. Let me see if you can stand when the storm is gone." The hall fell still, only the truth between them alive. The night deepened, silence pressing like stone walls. Kofi sank to his knees on the marble floor, his voice hoarse, raw. "I am not my father, I am not Abena. I am only a man who has broken too much and wants only to build again." Amina's tears fell freely now, her body trembling with every breath. She whispered, "You cannot build me, Kofi. I must build myself." His face crumpled, yet he nodded slowly, accepting her truth. "Then let me stand beside you, even if you never take my hand." The hall flickered in moonlight, shadows stretching long. Nia turned away, her eyes wet, unwilling to intrude on a wound too sacred. The silence was unbearable, yet in it lay the only honest beginning they had ever known. The final silence hung heavy, the air thick with unspoken futures. Amina turned slowly toward the tall window, moonlight spilling across her face. She whispered, soft as breath yet sharp as truth, "If we rise, it will be scarred, and if we fall, it will be free." Kofi lowered his head, his tears falling onto the marble, his voice breaking, "Then let me fall with you, not without you." Nia closed her eyes, her own heart trembling at the truth carved before her. The hall seemed to hold its breath, every shadow listening. Amina pressed her palm against the cold glass, her reflection fractured by moonlight. She whispered one last time, "I will never be invisible again." The words lingered like smoke after fire. The silence that followed was the final blow, a haunting truth that would echo long after the night was gone.